This is Ann Mitchell, and I'll be doing a presentation today on how to search successfully to reveal your ancestor's story. This is a two-part presentation. It's a takeoff on a presentation I did at NGS a couple weeks ago. So it's about an hour long, but it's really hard to sit for an hour. So we'll do half of it today and half of it next Tuesday. And of course, these will always be available after the fact on live stream, which you can find off our Facebook page. So if you missed something or you want to go back or you want to share it with a friend, that's the way to do it. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. If I can make my screen behave. All right, so most people, when they get into this, they want to be able to tell a story. It's not just about collecting records. In fact, there's probably some ancestor that you have that fascinates you. Everybody has their favorite ancestors. You want to be able to tell a story. You want to make them come to life. You want to be able to show something to your family and friends that will get them interested in family history and not make them just politely sit there while you show them their family tree. So this is what we want to look at. How do we tell that family story? How do we make our ancestors come to life and not just be a bunch of random records? Well, if you're like me, you do this method, and I hear this from a lot of people. You do a lot of research, right? You collect all these records. Then you sit down in front of Word or Notepad or whatever your favorite word processing program is, and you wait for divine inspiration. And it's really, really hard. So you'll be sitting there in front of your computer. You'll open up Word, and this is usually where I start, and a lot of times this is where I stop. Or you'll come up with some, let's say I'm telling the story of my grandmother. You'll come up with some sentence, and then you don't know what else to say. How do you pull all this together? Well, I think there's got to be a better way. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about how you get started, making sure that you get all of the right pieces together, and then what you can do with them as you collect them, because I think both things are really important. If you do this along the way as you go, I think you're going to find that you have a pretty good story when you get to the end. Well, let's face it, there is no end to family research. So let's try a different method. First, we're going to assemble a working tool set. If you're going to build a house, you have tools. Not just one, you have a bunch of them. If you're going to paint a house, you have a bunch of tools. If you're going to make a dress, you have tools. You have different pieces of equipment that you use to make that work. You have to do the same thing if you're going to build your family history. You cannot just have one way to do things. You have to do varied research in different places, and you have to start with the foundation. For most people, especially when you're starting in the US, that means collecting all the censuses, understanding who that person was, and then starting to collect the rest of the pieces of information around it. That'll be more of a discussion that we have next week. And change the ways in which you search. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, I think sometimes we fall into bad habits. I know I do. Where you just keep searching the same way and you're not finding anything new. We've got to find different ways to search. You need to write up random thoughts and ideas as you go. You don't have to write brilliant prose. It doesn't have to be something that you would publish in a magazine. But if you jot down notes and random thoughts quickly as you have them, you don't have to remember them later. You don't have to go, what was that I thought about? Or where was it that I said I was going to look? And I know we all have the best intentions, but let me show you some easy ways to collect that, and you might be more likely to do it. And then from time to time, compile. Bring it all together so that you can have something to show people. So today's presentation, the first half of this presentation, is going to focus on building that toolkit. And I want to give you some new ideas on new ways to search and new places to look, so that you have a better way to gather lots and lots of information to bring out that color and excitement about the people that you're searching for. All right, so make a list of where to search. Make a list of ways to search. They're not always the same thing, and ways to search will differ depending on where you're searching, and keep updating the list. this is your tool set. You're a genealogist, you're a family historian. You need to have a tool set. And like we said before, if you search in the same place, you'll find the same things. If all you ever search is the censuses, well, you'll have a nice little foundation of that person's life, but you're going to miss a lot of interesting stuff. So let's start looking at some different places where we can search. All right. Number one, take the lazy approach. Let Ancestry do the work on your behalf. If you have an online family tree, a tree in Family Tree Maker 2012, take advantage of it. Use those shaky leaves. Now remember, they're hints, and they may not always be right. You should evaluate everything you look for, but let us do some work for you. We may find things that you haven't found. And if a new collection comes online, we'll run your tree up against it. Maybe we'll find something you haven't thought about. And remember, we've added some new settings now, so you can turn hints off on any number of trees that you like, on all your trees, though I wouldn't do that. And if you don't like to see other people's trees come up in your hints, you can turn those off as well. So check that out. To find that, if you go up to the your header, you'll see the little numbers next to the shaky leaf, and you'll see the settings. Oh, by the way, I'm not doing any of the live online searching in this presentation, because I find that when I do that, people tend to get fuzzy screens and they can't understand what I'm doing as well. So I'm trying to do this all in the PowerPoint so y'all can see it better. All right, so search tool number one was let us do the work for you. Number two is place pages. I think this is maybe one of the most underutilized pieces of functionality, but yet the most useful. If you go to search.ancestry.com search, this is the search tab in your header, and if you go down to the bottom, you'll find a map. And depending on where you live, if you're in the US, it'll come up with the US. If you're in the UK, it'll come up with the UK. But you can switch, of course, if you want to. But in the US, you'll find a map and a listing for each state. And what this is, it's a listing of collections specific to that state. In this particular one, I'm bringing up Ohio. Oh, and in this case, these are all the data collections that are specifically about Ohio. Now, they may not always come up in global search, but you may find something in there that's really, really interesting. Let's say that you're looking for soldiers in World War I. There's a listing of Ohio soldiers in World War I. That could be really useful. And if you look over here, you'll see counties. You can drill down to your county and find what a specific data collection is just for that county. You may find just a gold mine in there. And in fact, we may list county histories and local histories that are specific. You never know what you might find. You may have to do some reading and some searching. It may take some time, but there could be a gold mine. It's a new and different place to look, and it'll give you a new perspective. The card catalog. Hopefully you all have used the card catalog. We have over 30,000 data collections. You're not going to see all those in the front page of global search. It's not possible. So you should go look for things specifically. Oops, I went backwards, didn't I? So if you bring up the card catalog, you'll notice here that you have title and keyword. Just a couple notes about that. Title means it has to, that word that you type in has to appear specifically in the title, and that is right here. Now, each data collection also has a description, and if you put a word in the keywords, it will check the description and the title. I usually go straight to keyword. Note too that if you were to type in tree, T-R-E-E, under title, it will not show, say, public member trees. But if you type T-R-E-E asterisk, then it's a wildcard and it will match. So be very careful how you search for things. Play around with it. You can't break it. Make sure that you check the filters down the side. If you're looking for a specific category, say pictures or maps or vital records in the birth, marriage, and death, you can drill down, and then you can drill down further. And that will show you data collections that fall under those categories. You can filter by location. Now this is different than the place pages. Place pages are data collections that only have data about a certain place. Here, you're going to see data collections that include data about a certain place. So if you want to see everything that has Canadian records in it, and it may have something else, you can go here. But if you want to see only Canada, you go to the place page. It may take a little mental gymnastics, but it'll make sense after a while. You can also filter by date. Our ancestors did not live for 400 years. Go down to a specific decade or a specific century and see what's there. And you can filter by language. We have lots of German, lots of English. But if you can speak a different language, this may be a very helpful way in getting to certain of our data collections. Also, you can sort these. Popularity, these are the ones that are most commonly attached and used. But you can also sort these by database title, date updated, and date added. This will give you a quick what's new in any given category. And record count. This line, there's number over here, is the number of records that we have. Now granted that if your guy is in there and it only has 5, you're happy. But you should look at that, because if it has a small number, you may not be fruitful. Finding local histories. I love these. Because they're not just records with names, dates, and places. They talk about what was going on. You get a feeling what was important and what was not. You get this story, even if it's not about your ancestor, you understand what was going on in a certain time and place. This is incredibly important. So in the card catalog, filter down to stories, memories, and histories. And then if you want to, you can filter down one more. Then in keywords, type in the location you're looking for. That's up here. And this one, I type in Rockbridge, Virginia. I have a lot of ancestors that come from there. And look, a history of Rockbridge, Virginia. What a surprise. Okay, so I knew that was coming. But this will find anything that has Rockbridge in Virginia in the title or in the description. I may find something I never knew was out there. And I might find some information about my ancestors. Remember too, a lot of these local histories or surname histories are what we call OCR. OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. It's hit or miss. It's not always perfect. So you may do a search in one of these from a search form and not find what you're looking for. But if you skim through an index or a table of contents, you may find that something looks like it's applicable. And if you go in, you may actually find who and what you're looking for. Do not give up on these. They are hard work, harder work than some of the other things, but well worth the effort. All right, surname history, same thing, but it's worth mentioning. You go to stories, memories, and history. And then in keywords, you type in the name you're looking for. And this word I typed in pain. And then it tells me a bunch of different surname histories I can look at. People write this stuff and they publish it. You should also look out on the web for these. Look in, Google Books, all this kind of stuff. And sometimes you may find these books, if they're not on our site, but out there, and I've seen some of them have been over $100, and I'm way too cheap to spend that much. Check eBay. Check these other sites. Sometimes you can buy them real cheaply. You never know where you're going to find something. Never stop looking. All right. Also, on names that are commonly misspelled or have spelling variations, pain, it can be P-A-Y-N-E or P-A-I-N-E or P-A-I-N. You might want to change the different spellings, and you might also want to try wildcards. Remember, a question mark stands for 1 character, star stands for 0 or more. Next, city directories. We have done a huge refresh on our city directories and our scanning. The technology is just fascinating, but what it's given you is a better search tool. But even that is not perfect. And while you're much more likely, and this is the URL that will get you to the new city directories, if you're not finding who you're looking for, maybe you should try browsing. Let me show you. So if you go to the US city directories, and it says beta, but this is really the new and improved one. First, you can always go into the search form and try searching, but try browsing. You have a pretty good idea of where they lived or where you think they might have lived. And over here, I'm going to choose North Carolina, Charlotte. Let's say I was looking for 1940 because I'm trying to find them in 1940. And more are coming online all the time. Stay tuned. That's all I can tell you. But more is coming online. But then you can go down here to the city directory and click on that. These are alphabetized. You know, you can use some pretty, start in the middle, go back and forth, and you can quickly find if your person's in there or not. I found a lot of ancestors that way, and I found out some interesting stuff. The Ancestry Wiki. The Red Book and the Source are two books that have been greatly used by genealogists over time. They tell you a lot about the places that you're searching for. We put these online and they're for free. Even if you don't have a paid subscription, you can access these. To get there, you'll go to the Learning Center, which is up in the header. And down there at the bottom, you'll choose Family History Wiki. That will bring up pages, and it brings up all, it's like any other wiki. It's like the Wikipedia. And it'll bring it, but over in the top right-hand corner, you'll see things like state research and county research. It's really important to go understand where vitals and deeds and other things were started and kept in different counties. Let me give you an example. Some of my husband's ancestors are from Fleming County, Kentucky. Now, as I read through here, it says that it was formed in 1798. It was formed from Mason, and Fleming began keeping birth records in 1852. Marriage records in 1798 and death records in 1852. If you have an ancestor who was born or died before 1852 and it was in Fleming County, there's no record. That record does not exist. You can stop looking for it. This is really, really important. Go check this out, understand when records were kept and what the county was before it became a county. Virginia counties, because that state turned into many different states and because the counties were constantly adjusting to handle the new population, you may be looking in the wrong county. The information may be elsewhere. Just because you know something to be true, that doesn't mean that's where it's stored. Go do a little research, understand the place that you're looking for. Message boards. Our message boards are chock full of people looking for information and supplying information. You may find that distant cousin that's useful. Go to Collaborate, choose message boards, and you'll find a listing. And you can either search by surname or topic or location, or you can drill down into it. In this case, I'm looking for my Gillespie's. It's my maiden name, so I'll choose that one. And it'll bring up a surname board for Gillespie. I can then choose to search, and if I choose this radio button, I can search for a name or a phrase just in that particular message board. I have found a lot of information on a lot of cousins that way. You'll find things that people who may have something that can help you. You take a piece of information you've got, a piece of information they've got, who knows, maybe you break down that brick wall. One World Tree. This is the most maligned data collection we have on our site, but sometimes has fabulous information. What One World Tree is we took all the Ancestry member trees. We don't compile this anymore, but we did, and we brought them all together and made our best guess as to how it all worked, and we tried to create one big tree. Now, it's not perfect. And a lot of people say, well, it's not perfect and there's wrong information in there, so I would never look at it. You should look anywhere that you might find a clue. If you go to card catalog and look for One World Tree, and notice that's all one word, don't know why, you'll go to the search form, and let's say you search for somebody. I'm searching here for Robert Howard Cash. He's, I don't know, 7th, 8th great-grandfather. He's an ancestor I actually share in common with Johnny Cash, one of my claims to fame there. And I get a bunch of listings for him. So I click on one of them, and I come up with this, and if it's blue on Ancestry, you know it's an old page. And I come up with this page, and it's got a bunch of fiction on here for people he was married to. But way over here on the right, it says historical records, and it says 497 user submitted trees. This is where the gold lies. Click on that, and you're going to see a list of all 497 trees. And here, this little book means there's a source, which, you know, a source tree is probably a better tree than a non-source tree. And down here means somebody's attached a document. And this is where the gold is sometimes. If you click on one of those, and here's an example of where it turned out to be wonderful, someone has found Robert Howard Cash's will and taken the time to type it in. And because I took the time to go through all this, I got to find this will. It's got all sorts of information on here. You never know when you're going to find something awesome and wonderful. I would recommend this highly. You may find nothing, but you may find gold. It's a big web. We have a lot of stuff. We have 30,000 data collections, but there's a lot of other places to look as well. Rootsweb.com, which we own, it's a free site though. People upload lots of trees. There's all the message boards there. Go take a look. usgenweb.org, it's a nonprofit. Go look there. Go find your state. People type in all sorts of stuff out of the goodness of their heart and put it up on that site. You never know what you're going to find. Search for your county plus state plus historical society in Google or your favorite search engine, just like I did here, Amherst plus Virginia Historical Society, and yeah, I know it's there. And you may find that they've put a web page out on the site. They may have information there that you can either order or view online that will be useful to you. Also, Fold3, one of our sister sites, has tons of military records, and you can usually get a discount for being an Ancestry.com member. FamilySearch.org is just putting out tons and tons of stuff all the time, and it's free. I have found estate and probate records lately there for North Carolina that help me break down a brick wall. Go look everywhere. Chronicling America, your tax dollars at work. These are a listing of all sorts of different newspapers, and some of them are digitized and you can search them. And if you can find newspapers from your area, even if your ancestors are not in them, it helps you understand what life was like at that particular time. And it's free. Check it out. There are lots and lots of other places. Get on the message boards for your state or for your county and ask people where they look. People love to share things they know. All right, so those are places to look. Let's improve your search skills. There's not one perfect way to search. There will be people that tell you this is how you search. It's just one way. Smile at them politely and move on your way. You need to vary your methods. Make sure you're using advanced. That gives you access to all our filters. Nobody wants to look through 30 million records, but if you use filters, you can get the list down to something that you want to look through. Underneath, if you're in advanced, and if you're not in advanced, you can change to it. It's in the upper right-hand corner of any search form. You can set the first and last name filters. On first name, you can match phonetic, anything that sounds like something. Names with similar meanings, it'll match Billy to William. Will to William, WM to William, those kind of things. And records where only initials are recorded. Darn those census takers, but you know sometimes they only recorded initials. Last name is just a little bit different. You have sound X. This is fairly antiquated in terms of the internet. I think this worked better when they were searching for things on paper, but you can try it if you want. Phonetic is the same sound and similar. They have the same meaning, maybe in a different language. Smith and Schmidt, something like that. Try them. Location filters. This is my favorite filter. Use the location filter by selecting the type ahead and then selecting adjacent counties and working your way out geographically to expand your search. So let's say that you're looking at a census. Lived in is really useful. You start typing, you select your county. This is going to allow you to just search in that county, but if you're not finding what you want there, you can then select adjacent counties and move your way out. Restrict to this place exactly, county and adjacent counties, state, state and adjacent states. You'd be amazed actually at how useful state and adjacent states can be. If you have ancestors who live on the border, well, if they're like mine, they would hop back and forth across the border, so that can be really useful. Wildcards. If our filters aren't working, try wildcards. Use a question mark for one character and a star for 0 or more. SM question mark TH star matches all sorts of different forms of Smith. You must have at least 3 characters to use a wildcard, but you can use the wildcard at the beginning. So for example, my maiden name is Gillespie, and it was often spelled in a variety of ways. The letter after the two L's could be I, Y, E, A. So I usually will go in and I will put a question mark in for that letter, and then I will put a star instead of IE because sometimes it matched Y. This will bring up a bunch of different variations for me. Limit your scope. At the bottom of the advanced search, you can set your collection priority and the types of records you will see. So down at the bottom of the form, you'll see all collections. And then down here, and this may be hard to read, it'll say show only records from these collections. So if you're only looking in the US, you can set it to US and show only records from these collections. UK, Canada, we're not going to show you. If you're in Canada, you can do the same thing. It doesn't depend on where you live, it's what you want to look at. Also notice up here that if you only want historical records, you can unclick these and you will only see historical records. You just have to have one of those clicked. That will bring down the number of results that you're seeing. All right, do a category search. A lot of people do not know about this one, and I think it can be really useful. When you're on your search results page, it'll look something like this. If you look up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice it says sort by relevance, and you can also summarize by category. If you choose that option, instead of just a list of results, you'll see them summarized by category, and then you can drill down into the actual data collection that you would like to look at. This can be a good way to bring up different data collections that you weren't sure were there. Use facets. These are these filters down the side that work pretty much the same way. Say I'm looking for my fourth great grandfather here, Charlton, and I want to look for his military records. I can click right here on military, and it will go down to military records, and I can just focus on that. So this can be really, really useful if you're just trying to find a certain type of record. Search from trees. Got one here, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. Bonus points for anybody who can tell me what war he served in. Not my relative, by the way. Up here, you'll see search for records. If you click on that, we'll pre-populate the search form for you. So all that information gets dumped into the search form, and we do the search for you. You can then click on Edit Search and remove and adjust as you see fit. But it's a quick and easy way to get a global search started. Read the form. Too often people will bring up a specific data collection and not look at what we've got in there. This is really important. It shows you what's indexed. If it's not on the form, it's probably not indexed. So you can't search for it. In census records, lived in is a really, really useful place to get it down to the county you're looking for. And be very, very careful. Exact means exact. So if you go into keyword, if you type in someone's middle name or something, and you mark it exact, it has to appear in that record. Be also careful on death dates. If you have a death date and you mark it in exact, if it's not in the record, it will not show up. Keyword sometimes is an underused field. If you think something is in a record but you're not sure, type it into keyword. Don't mark it exact. It will prioritize it higher in the list. Be very careful with race and nationality. They were often recorded as a variety of different things, and you just never know. Even gender can be a little suspect. I've had more than a few relatives who were male who were marked as female and vice versa, and it gave me very strange results. And then, whoops, I went from 18 to 20. That was a misnumbering. Sorry about that. Still, it's the same. If you can't find who you're looking for, look for somebody else that should be there. Look for siblings and brothers and parents and cousins and grandparents. Look for neighbors. If you can't find somebody in an 1860 census that you're pretty sure should be there, figure out who their neighbors were in 1850 or find them on a city directory and find who their neighbors were, and then go search for them and see if they aren't living around there someplace. That may be a way to get there. They could have been so badly transcribed that they're just not showing up. This has happened before. Oh, I got these backwards, I see. This one can be really useful. First or last name only searches. If you are not finding who you think is there, set it to a specific spot. This one, Rockridge County, Virginia. Let's say you're looking for a Wallace. Set it to Wallace and then do a search. This will give you a list of everybody named Wallace. And it's usually a fairly short list unless you're in like one of the major cities. And then you need to put some other things to limit it. And you can just scan the list and see if something was really transcribed badly or if they were using a middle name that you'd never heard of before. You'd be amazed at how often that happens. This is a good way to find somebody, or put in their first name unless it's really common, or even if it is really common, and then search there and see if you're not finding them or they're just listed under some wrong last name. I've seen families that are mixed that have like stepchildren in them or whatnot, and they end up with the wrong last name because it's not recorded correctly in the census or because somebody got confused when they indexed it. You never really know. All right. So we filled your toolbox. You've got all sorts of ways to find all sorts of different records. Next week, we're going to talk about what you do with them. How do you write up random thoughts and ideas as you go, and how do you from time to time compile? You have to know where to look. You have to know to look in different places besides just the census. You have to gather all this information, but that's not enough. You got to know what to do with it when you find it. And we're going to start exploring that next week. And then, of course, you want to publish it. Who knows? Maybe we'll turn some of you into authors. So, be with me next week. I really hope this one was useful. I'm really looking forward to next week. It's one of the favorite presentations I do. So, upcoming events. This one is today's, and this is the URL where you'll find all of our events on Facebook. Tomorrow, Krista Cowan, the Barefoot Genealogist, is doing a tweet chat. Notice that that's 3 p.m. Pacific, which is 6 p.m. Eastern. Yes, I did the math right. On Thursday, she's doing unique resources for ethnic origins. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Next Tuesday, I will be doing the second part of this. And Krista will be doing how to keep track of all that research using notes in FTM and trees. So by the time we get finished next week, you guys will have all sorts of new ways to record what you're doing. And maybe it'll help you just get your thoughts a little bit more organized. I know these tricks have helped me. All right. Thank you for joining me today. We'll have this posted online sometime later today.